The GWM Cannon is due for the oil change, yeah? So I thought I'd bring you guys along and show you how to do it. I've done a lot of these now, as you know, servicing all the GWMs around Brisbane and the Gold Coast. All right, for your stock standard stone tray, this is the tools that you're gonna need. 10 mil, a little bit of an extension. That's to undo the first two front bolts on your stone tray. 13 mil for the other 3 stone tray bolts. Boom. So take your rattle gun or your ratchet, take that cover off, get the stone tray off. Then you need a 14 mil for your sump plug. Then for your oil filter, single hex, 23 mil. Do not use anything else. All right, 23 mil. You have to go buy one because most toolkits don't come with the 23 mil single hex. That's what size that is, 23 mil. Then you'll need 2 extensions to get to the oil filter, plus your 1/2 inch ratchet, yeah? So that's basically all the tools that you need. This little part here is to get the, you can use a small screwdriver or a pick, just to get your O-rings and stuff off your old oil filter. I'll show you that soon. Rubber grease as well, I use on all of the seals. So there's 2 seals on your oil filter. I like to put a little bit of rubber grease on those just so they screw in nicely and sit correctly. Oil that I use on all the GWM Cannons that I service is C3, which is DPF compatible, 5W30 Penrite Enviro Plus. So this is the full synthetic. This is what you have to use on the GWMs. Castrol's got a version of it, and probably some other guys. But anyway, I like to use the Penrite full synthetic, 5W30, genuine parts only. So I don't muck around with any other aftermarket parts for the Cannons. Genuine sump plug washer. Change it every single service. Don't skip it or it will leak. Here is your genuine GWM oil filter. Comes in a little box. Inside that little box, there it is. It comes with the new seal and also the tiny little O-ring that sits on top. Make sure you change both those seals. If you skip that step, the oil filter will leak. And then the new oil filter, of course. Let's get started. I'm going to pull the stone tray off. All right, so the stock stone trays are so much easier because I just know the sizes of them. You just nip them off. But you can see when you go aftermarket, check on mine, it's got 1, 2, 13 mils. Then up in here, it's got a couple more 13 mils. Then it's got 2 Allen key bolts, which I might change those over because that's kind of annoying to do the oil change because the sump is just underneath those covers. Because I'm a short ass and my car's so high, I got to use this trusty step every time I get. Everybody who services with me gets to see this step. So first thing, engine cover off. There is 4 little thingies. Pop that out of the way. So I take my 23 mil socket, sit it on top of the oil filter, so it's sitting there nice and perfect. Because when my socket comes in on a bit of an angle, I don't clip it all the way in because it hits the timing case. It's in the dumbest spot right there. Yeah. Take your 2 extension bars and your 1/2 inch. You sit it inside that socket just on a bit of an angle. Then while you're pushing down, it's not completely in the socket. While you're pushing down, crack it. There you go. And then you can put it back into the socket properly. So come back in here. Once you crack it, that's it. It'll loosen off nicely. This is the best way to do the oil filter without making any mess. Right at the start of the service, undo this all the way, which is almost there. Undo it, it'll start draining oil back into the motor, not all over the side of the engine like a lot of people would like to do. But you can see I've undone that a bunch of threads and it just sits there. It's going to drain back into the engine while I go do the oil change. So then when I finish changing the oil in the car, we will have a nice clean oil filter to remove. So because I do everything mobile, I have to make sure that I don't make any mess on people's driveways. So I found a way to do the oil filter without making a mess. Stone tray, aftermarket. Like I said, the genuine stone tray is 2 10 mils at the front, 3 13 mils at the back. As soon as you do an aftermarket stone tray, I then had 2 Allen key bolts with separate nuts. Then I had to have 2 15 mils and then 3 13 mils or whatever. God, there's all different size bolts, very annoying. I do love working on cars that are unmodified, but it's a bit hypocritical because my car's modified like crazy. And see, also this is the stock bash plate. You've got in your bumper bar, 1 hole here, 1 hole over here, and there's a 10 mil. There it is. There's your 2 10 mils. And then at the back of that same cover, so I got it focus, is 1, 2, 3. Yeah? Those 3. That's the stock standard stone cover. But anyway, I've got those off, so then we come in underneath with our 1/2 inch ratchet here somewhere, and our 14 mil. I've made a mess here, I've got bolts going on. I've got different size sockets going on everywhere. Right, loosen. Under here, I'll bring them under. Right, there's your sump. I don't know how much more I can show you. Look, right, coming under the car. There's your sump. There's your sump plug. 14 mil. Ready? Throw your dog on there. Crack it. Loosen her off. So see how the sump plug washer is stuck to the actual sump there. I haven't taken the plug out yet, but you can actually see the sump plug washer is actually stuck to the sump. I find, because I do this all in people's driveways, if I clip that off now, so I get my little pick in there, and I crack that plug off, I crack that little washer off now, it makes a lot less mess than if I do it afterwards. Okay, there we go. Undo that, drop the wheel, away you go. Now these should take around 6.5 to possibly 7 litres. Most of them take 6.5 litres. Alrighty, so there we go. We're going to take off the old sump plug washer, and I'll show you. I don't know if you can see how gritty that is, how the seal's already starting to fall apart. Don't reuse these. They don't seem to last a second oil change. I've seen a couple of them that you can tell that the sump plug washer's been reused, and they just leak a little bit of oil around that area. So just replace it every time. Couple of bucks. Oh, they're around $5 or $6 for the genuine ones that I buy, but anyway, there we go. New one. On she goes. When that finishes draining, that's ready to put back on. Okay, so hopefully I've left that drain for long enough, because I haven't actually waited for the oil. I got impatient. So we pull that up and out, get your rag ready, and catch it. All right, see how the oil goes on the rag? Put that to the side. Come back down here. This oil filter is still sitting inside the housing. So I pull that up, hold it on an angle for a second, let it just drain a little bit, get my rag underneath, catch it, and there's your oil filter out. How much mess do we make, Danica? 0. I've got 0 mess. Because a lot of times if you just let that drain, it'll drain all over your cooling housing here, and goes all over everything. It makes a huge mess all over the place, all right? So we're going to take our trusty little pick, we're going to take off the main O-ring first, so dig that out of there. One O-ring, then there's a tiny little O-ring up the top. Take that tiny little O-ring off just like that. Now this one looks like it's been on there for a while because it cracked as soon as I took it off, so it's quite flimsy, so I don't know if that's been changed in the last oil change or not, which was not me. Look, I got a little bit of oil on the driveway. Alright, give that a little bit of a wipe over. Make it nice and pretty. Alright, sit that there. Let's get the new one out. Here's your new one. Let's take that plastic off. O-ring. Main O-ring. Don't lose your little O-ring. Just sits inside the filter there. Tiny O-ring. New filter. Throw that back in there, or I can throw the old housing, old filter. Okay, so we'll sit this to the side, nice and clean. Take a little bit of rubber grease, just a small amount, rub it around your fingers, just grease up that O-ring a little bit. The reason I do that is when you screw it back in, it screws in much nicer, seals a bit better, and also for the next person who has to take this out, it's not so tight. Okay, boom, that's in place. Sits right in there. Beautiful. Then we take the little one, pretty much no grease, like the tiniest little bit of film on that, and then it just clips onto the top there, around there. See, there it is. Boom. Take your filter, make sure it's in firmly, and that's it. There's your oil filter housing ready to go back in. I'm just doing a customer's car at the moment. Just one thing you got to realise that some of these cartridge oil filters do get stuck in there. So my trick is to grab the pliers, work yourself around like that, basically snapping the top of the filter off, and then work out the side, and you'll be able to pull that filter up. So some of them do get stuck, and they do leave a little bit of oil filter at the bottom. I'll show you in a second. All right, see, once you work away most of that corner, it does let go, and sorry, I'm doing all this one-handed at the moment, but it will let go, and you'll be able to get that oil filter out. All right, you can see the bottom of that one didn't come off, but some of the bottoms come off, and it'll get stuck in the bottom of that housing. So make sure that you remove every piece of that oil filter out of that housing before you put your new one on. That pin there has to go, I don't know if you can see anything here, has to go inside the middle. There's a hole in the middle. Make sure that that main pin section with the top O-ring goes in there nicely, and screw it down. All right, so here we go. I hold it that way until I have to turn it. In we go. Make sure it slides in, which it is, and then we're in. start screwing it up. That's as far as I can go because the O-ring is starting to bind. While screwing it in, keep pressure on your left hand down. So every single time you're doing that and you're pushing down a little bit so you don't slip on it, because we don't want to strip the thread on that 23mm. And because you're sitting on an angle, it's very easy for it to slip. So then once you're nice and tight, I take the socket back off so the socket can then fit flush again up against the filter. Then my sockets come down on that angle again like we started with, and just give it that last little, that's it, nip up. So it's tight, happy days, no mess. Look at that, no mess. No mess, no oil spillage. I'll tell you what, the main thing that I come across when I'm servicing these Cannons is all underneath is covered in oil, because they just rip that oil filter off, pull it out, and it spills oil everywhere. Then I give it a hose off, but it never cleans it properly. So because I work on your driveways, I can't make any mess. There you go, oil filter's done. Okay, thanks Tanika. When I work on your car, my work ute sit in here, and my work ute is my bench, yeah? But because we're on my house, it's such a small little front yard, I can't park my car behind the work ute. I can't believe you just pointed that out. You're the worst. There's a big mess on your driveway. Obviously I wouldn't have rags and stuff sit on your driveway either. It'd be all in the back of my ute is my workbench.
The funny thing is I wouldn't even notice it.
Oh, I wouldn't leave that there. We've got a brake cleaner, we'll bring that off. And I look underneath the car, the oil's still draining, yeah? So it's not finished yet. So oil's still draining. It takes, you know, give it about 10 minutes of draining, because you want to get all that oil out. Alright, once your oil has finished draining, a couple little drips, throw that sun plug back in there. Make sure you tighten the bloody thing, or we're going to have problems, mate, yeah? So make sure, I'm doing this all one-handed cameraman. Make sure it's nice and tight. I take off, look at that, I take my socket off so I know I've tightened it, yeah, so I don't forget. Then just take your rag and give that a bit of a wipe over just so it's nice and clean. Done. Put the covers back on. Covers back on, we can go back up the top and we can start filling the oil. Take your favourite funnel, pop it in the filler. Let's fill it up. First start with a 5 litre. As I said, this will take around 6.5 litres. Maybe a tiny bit more. So make sure you buy a 7 litre C3 Penrite, alright? Here we go. 6.5 litres of oil in there. Let the engine run for 15 seconds. That gives the engine enough time to fill the oil filter up with oil, and then we can get the correct level when we check the dipstick. Check this out. That is the O-ring for my dipstick, like absolutely trashed. Shit, I don't have another O-ring. I haven't seen one like that before. I usually add a tiny bit of rubber grease around that O-ring as well each service. Whenever I find a tight dipstick, I just put a little bit of rubber grease around there.
You're a tight dipstick.
Thank you, baby. Look at that. Bro, that's the worst O-ring. I'm gonna have to go get another O-ring for that. It's all trashed. Because if you lubricate it a little bit each service, then it will go in and out nice and easy, see? Look at that. Wouldn't that be nicer? I wouldn't have had to rip the dipstick apart. Look at that, we're a tiniest little bit over, but that's pretty perfect. Yeah, pretty perfect. What do you reckon, Tanika? Happy?
Yeah.
You happy with the oil level?
Yep.
Alright, throw that away, get rid of that, put this dog back on. Once you've done that, oil change is complete. Put your cover back on. Done. GWM Cannon oil change. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for watching me do the oil change. Right, that's all done, yeah? I'm just going to rotate the tyres. I'm also going to clean out the engine air filter and the air conditioning filter. I'll show you all that another time. But I just wanted to say, sorry for how dirty my engine bay is. It's never been cleaned. It's just red dust from the big trip around Australia that we've done. I'm Jordan from Raybecks Mobile Mechanic. Brisbane, Gold Coast, Bribie Island. I sort of travel everywhere for a bit of servicing on these GWM Cannons. Hit me up, mate. The details are in the comments, in the details below. And here's a couple of bloopers from this movie because, I don't know, it's hot on a Sunday afternoon. So there's a few bloopers. Hope you enjoy it. So later. Alrighty, so you let the run... It's gonna be a bloopers reel for this, eh? Stay at the end to watch the bloopers. Should I put a bloopers reel in? Your oil filter, 23mm, single hock. Yes. Oh my god, the key's in my pocket when I set the alarm off. GWM, you know, yeah? So there's I sit that in there just so it's just sitting above the socket, the extension. God, I'm struggling. I can't talk right now. I'm so sweaty. Comes in a little box. Sorry, dropped it. Alright, so I sit that. Oh my god.
Dead.
Bro, take the keys out of your pocket, man. Hold those keys, Sophie. Wow, that scared the fuck out of me. Now the neighbours are going to come out and see me recording and look like an idiot.
Oh, vomit.
Check the oil filter.